tardes, buenos días, depending en qué parte del mundo están. Hello everyone, welcome beautiful people. Welcome to Regenerative Culture Podcast. I'm so excited to be here. It's a special day today because it's my birthday. So I'm coming basically back from the dead. I haven't been active in social media for a while. My projects have been, but I haven't been personally. So it's a great experience for me to come out and do this live show. I'm very excited, and on my birthday, so I'm very excited about that. Today is very special too because I have an amazing guest, and we're going to talk about some deep conversations about sociocracy, decentralized governance. Have you ever imagined about a world that does not have to need a president or a vice president, or the idea of voting or different types of political parties? So this is an amazing opportunity to understand how to make decisions in a community, as a group, no hierarchy at all. So it's amazing to and have the honor to have our special guest today, Henny Freitas, which I'm very excited. She's a good friend, very humble person, and a very powerful woman too. So it's very inspiring to have her today here. She's going to share a lot of amazing information. And yeah, I'm excited about that. We're also going to talk about eco-villages and how this is a big boom in this decade. We're going to talk about that. And yeah, let's start. We're having Henny Freitas coming over in a second. She is in Brazil right now. It's a different time zone. And we're very excited. It's a Zoom call, so we're going to have her and let her talk and express herself. So give me 1 second here. I think we're ready. Go, Henny. Let's do this.
Here, all listening to you.
Awesome, Henny. Thank you so much for being here. I love your energy. Since the first time I met you in Ecuador. She shared, of course, about sociocracy and just her amazing energy and her love and her heart is all I really felt. But then this deep information that I've really been wanting to practice for a while. It was a big jump start for me. This is like 3 or 4 years ago, so it's very exciting to have her today. To this special moment in my birthday. Yeah, thank you, Henny, so much.
Happy birthday to you.
Thank you.
Happy birthday to you. Happy birthday, dear Joshi. Happy birthday to you.
Muchas gracias. Thank you. Yeah, Henny, I would love to introduce yourself, but there's no better way to introduce yourself than yourself and sharing a little bit about who you are and what you're doing now, a little bit.
Oh, this is always difficult for me to introduce myself because I'm a kind of a person that changes a lot. No, I'm a former journalist. And I decided to become a journalist because being a journalist, I could be many people. So for instance, in one day I could interview the president of my country. On the following day, I could push the charge of carroceiro who collects rubbish from the street. And the following day, I could be like in an eco-village, and the other one be covering something about politics. So that made me who I am now, this very curious person, willing to find out more about the world we live within and find out what we can do to be able to co-live with this organism, this living organism, which is our planet called Earth. So how we could connect with the Earth, recognize ourselves as part of the Earth and being nature with Earth. So I think because of this curiosity, it led me to start a project called the Earth Code Project, which consisted in documenting living with intentional sustainable communities around Latin America. And through that, it came my understanding about sustainable living, about alternatives on various factors of life, such as education, governance, and bioconstruction. So that gave me like an understanding about how to live within communities that searched more an intentional sustainable living. So through this work with the eco-villages, it was when I came across the rights of nature and sociocracy. And now I put everything together, and now I'm one of the politicians here in my little town called Alto Paraíso de Goiás. And now I can introduce permaculture, sociocracy, and the rights of nature within politics, within Brazilian politics. So I think that defines a little bit who I am.
Yes, that's amazing. That's a big step. I congratulate you for that from the bottom of my heart. That's a big step. It's a big shift in the mindset and a consciousness and inside a system where we can understand a new form of making decisions, or not a new form, but a different form of making decisions in a collective manner, and introducing permaculture into the political system is so amazing. Thank you so much for doing that. And I want to go back a little bit and understand, like, where does sociocracy start, and what is it specifically in your best words? Well, in a short period of time that you can express this, so we can start from there, a little bit of the story about this, and then we can dive deep into how it works and what's happening now in the world about that.
Okay. I came across Sociocracy in 2012 during a sustainable festival that was happening in Colombia. So this North American lady called Diana Leaf came and introduced this apparently new governing system. But the sociocracy started in the 70s along with permaculture. So Bill Mollingstone, the father of permaculture, and Gerard Edinburgh, the father of sociocracy, started testing new ways of making a new forest within the backyard of the garden, and introducing new ways of communicating, of taking decisions, and implementing it within organizations. Sociocracy came from two words, socio and trustee. And trustee comes from the Greek, that means power. And socio comes from the Latin, which means society, which means partners. So it's how to distribute power within your partners. Instead of having, as you introduced, a president and someone leading the conversation or imposing rules, it's a way that groups of collective people can decide what they do and how they can implement their actions through this methodology that implicates in transparency, in equivalence, so every voice matters, and also in efficiency. So it differs a little bit from assemblies where we go and we talk, and then we get tired of talking and we don't reach any conclusions. So Sociocracy came then with this way of, yes, let's distribute the voice to everyone, but we have a goal and we need to achieve this goal within a short period of time. So this is the basic pillars of Sociocracy: transparency, equivalence of the voices, every voice matter, and also if
cut a little bit. It cut a little bit right at the end, but yeah, thank you so much. So this comes into my mind, the form of sociocracy into the world it's really difficult to understand the possibilities of making a different decision. Is for me, before I understood sociocracy, it felt like there's no other way of a system, of a governance system. There has to be a president, there has to be a vice president, all this political movement. And then just knowing that there's a possibility of having another way of governance, is a challenge to understand, like what makes sociocracy better than different than what's happening now.
Well, for me, sociocracy really changed my mind, because before that, when we wanted to make decisions together, we would basically vote, as suggests our democracy nowadays. So by by voting, you always have a majority and a minority, and who wants is the majority. But what happens to the minority when you just vote, when you have more votes for one particular decision? So when Aristotle revisited these models, he said that's like a pure demagogy, because, you know, like in one way or another, one loses and the other one wins. So for me, when Sociocracy came to my mind, was the understanding that we could live in a win-win situation always, because our decision making is based by consent. So you don't need to have, you know, your preferences taken into consideration. You need to look at of what is good enough for now and what is good enough to try. So, you know, like Sociocracy allows small errors to happen, and you are learning with these minor errors. So that loses, you know, lots of weight from the back, because you don't need to reach perfection, as perfection per se doesn't exist. So your decisions are more open for experimentation, and you have a basis, you know, you have your domain, and this is what makes you feel so free in making decisions together. For instance, in the group that I am part of right now, which is the Mandato Coletivo Permacultural, which is my political group, we have the permaculture basis to help us to take decisions, to reach our goals. So for instance, if someone brings the understanding of, whatever, bad seeds, what do you call that, when they genetically modify the seeds and try to sell that for you, say like, no, you know, like permaculture is so certain in the ways that it wants to go, which is, you know, like we favor the organic seeds, therefore organic ways of planting your food. So if, for instance, when there was something for us to vote in the plenarium about, I'm losing a little bit in my English, because I know that you speak Spanish and I'm a Brazilian speaking Portuguese, and sometimes English words just vanish from my mind. But like there was something for us to analyze that was to do with airplanes just like releasing, you know, venom in the plantation. So that's like so easy to understand that it's not in favor of nature. This is completely against permaculture. So we have our decision based on permaculture. Therefore, it's easy to vote or to understand our decision making in this case. But there are like some minor issues that gives us, you know, like our input, our personal thoughts, and then what we discuss the matter, and then we understand that what is good enough for now is this situation. What is best enough for trying is this situation. So let's go ahead and let's learn within the process of implementing this decision. And we stop and evaluate it. So within Sociocracy, we have this opportunity to decide something, put that something into action, and evaluate it. If it is good enough, we carry on the same path. If not, we just give a step ahead and say, okay, so it's better to go another way. So in this way, we are more free to achieve our maximum intelligence and collective intelligence. So I think it's a secure methodology for you to try, and to try what it has been previously established in your domain. In our domain, in this case, is permaculture. So it gives us more freedom to navigate through tension. And if you go like through a normal organization, they don't encourage people to bring tension. And within Sociocracy, the tensions are really the ones that make the organization move. So by just bringing your attention, that could be a conflict or could be an opportunity, also could be a possibility of doing something different. We analyze it and we understand the needs behind it, and we make a proposal based on our domain, and then we try. So I think this is like the beauty of sociocracy, that you don't need to be stuck in your vision, in your mission, that you do it once and you never look at it back. And being in times of change, like we have just the coronavirus to stop us and say, like we need to adapt to changes. So because of the responsibility and the responsibility that we have within this system, we can act faster in a more secure way. I think I would resume a bit that way.
Awesome. Thank you. I want to highlight these phrases that you're mentioning. It's not good. Is it good enough for now? And is it okay for us to try it? Is it safe enough for us to try it? Those phrases are very important. I believe in the practice of sociocracy, and in my personal experience too, through what we've been practicing since we met with our collective. It helps us really make the decision collectively. Helps us make the decision collective because we are so attached to our way of thinking. Each person is attached to our own way of thinking, and just saying these phrases, is it good enough for now, for all of us to agree now? Is it safe for us to try it? So if we all agree on those, on that phrase, we can move forward on the next decision that we need to make. So I want to highlight that, and I think it's very important. It's one of the best tools. It's basically a tool to help really move forward in hard decisions, especially. And so I want to.
The way we do it, Joshi, it's simple. We follow a step.
Yeah.
So like when someone comes to a proposal, the first thing, instead of just saying yes, I agree, no, I don't agree, is that we do rounds. So because of the rounds that we do, we make sure that everybody has their own voices. So we make a proposal, okay? The proposal is on the table. The first round that we make is 2 questions. So, like, do I understand this proposal? Like, what's missing here that I'm not following? So I have the opportunity to clarify the question, the proposal. And once I clarify the question, everybody has the same understanding of that proposal. And the following round that leads, the first one is the considerations, is the reactions. So I don't like, I think it could be done in a different way. I have a contra proposal, or, like you have the opportunity to express yourself. And then someone that makes the proposal can understand these reactions and considerations and have the opportunity to change their proposal. And then you adapt the proposal. The proposal is once again on the table. You do a round of questions, you do a round of considerations, and then you do a round of objections. And the objection here is not to block the proposal. It's an opportunity to improve it, or to foresee the risks that the person who is initially making the proposal hasn't seen yet. So I point the risk, I analyze the risk, and I carry on saying, oh, it's good enough, it's safe enough, let's try it. So you don't just like object and I don't like it, it's not gonna go. No, you just let it go. And then you try it together, and then you evaluate it, and then you carry on. So by doing rounds, everybody has the opportunity to speak aloud and give your impressions about the proposal. And the proposal is then transformed by the collective, and then it's ready to be implemented.
Great. This is amazing, and I really honor and respect the experiences that you've had. You're part of the Global Eco-Village Network, co-founder also of CASA Latina, which is Consejo de Asentamientos Sustentables de América Latina. That's a network of LatinoAmerica that practices sociocracy within different nucleos from each country, and then also practice the same sociocracy in the Global Eco-Village Network. So through all these experiences that are working, there's proof that are working, there's all these documents and records of the process of these different groups. And for me or anybody in the audience trying to understand sociocracy comes to our mind, and a question: what about a person or someone that's really intense? And I believe is the most challenging moment during the sociocracy decisions or different nucleus. I imagine someone, like I imagining myself, maybe someone that's just giving some trouble there and just making it difficult for to all of us to move forward. Like what's happening there? That everyone has to listen to this person. And just kind of like a war between hierarchy and sociocracy. What's going on? So, tell us a little bit about that experience. How can you overcome those?
That's a very good question,
Yeah.
Yoshi. Thank you for asking that. Well, in order for sociocracy to work, I always compare the sociocracy, the methodology of sociocracy as with a chess. So before you play or you put your strategies into the chess, you need to understand that it has a background. It has two colors. You have black and white. You have roles within your players, and each player has a different role with a different function, with a different responsibility within this massive possibility of strategies that you have. So first of all, you understand the rules of that game, and then you understand the roles and the functions and the responsibilities of each player, and then you can make your strategies and play.
Gotcha.
So with sociocracy, it's the same thing. You have roles within this methodology. So first of all, we call a circle a group of people that will work together and will make decisions together within a frame. And this frame is what we call domain. So for instance, in CASA Brasil, which is the eco-village movement in Brazil, we have some circles. One of them is the one that I work with. It's called communications. So within that circle of communication, we have 4 roles, and each circle we have these same 4 roles, which we call essential roles. And you have the role of a facilitator, of a secretary, of a representative, and a coordinator or operational leader. So you start your meeting, and if the meeting has no facilitation at all, people will talk whenever they want. They will just crash with each other, and then conflicts will arise. So you have a facilitator, and the facilitator will just gather all the topics of that meeting. We put in an order that makes sense along with the secretary, and we'll start facilitating the meeting, giving the people their voices through a always round combination.
What if there's a person there interrupting, like I'm interrupting right now, and someone just doesn't have this habit and just wants to talk, and how can you, even though I know the rules and I keep like interrupting and I want to like say something, I don't know, like keep just creating
That's
this
the
trouble.
role of the facilitator.
Okay.
The facilitator will bring the focus once again to the meeting. Okay. The facilitator will say, okay, your opinion is very important, but it doesn't fit within this moment. Now we are talking about this topic, so let's keep our attention in this topic. Right. So the facilitator has the ability to bring people to that conversation, to that specific topic that we want to come across a solution or a decision, or just hear some feedback. So like that's something important that the facilitator does. And the secretary will write down, will maintain the memory activated, will maintain the memory of that group transparent to whoever wants to come and understand what happened within that situation. Mm-hmm. And then you have the representative, which is going to share what's happening within this communication circle to the other circles, mm-hmm. because they need to communicate. And this is what we call double link in sociocracy. So the representative from communication will talk about what's happening in communication. The representative of the membership circle will share what's happening there. The representative of the research circle will talk about that. So all the representatives will gather in a circle that we call general circle and share what's happening, what's alive, what the demands are, what the questions arises in that particular circle. Mm-hmm. And then we have the operational leader, who's going to listen to the other circles and bring back the information. So in this way, we can in a very effective way, understand what's happening within the whole organization just by these two links, which are then the representative and the operational leader bringing and delivering the message from one circle to the other.
Yeah, and that's good information. Thank you. And it's important to highlight that double link, two persons that bring back and forth information helps maintain transparency, which is great, and trust between the circles, and the information is communicated in a better way. That's very important. Thank you. And sociocracy in this topic, to actually learn, it's broad. We need a course, approximately many hours. How many hours a course to have a good learning experience?
Here in Brazil, we work in partnership with Sociocracy for All. So we call Sociocracy Brazil. And we have a course called Sociocracy of Leadership Training. And that's a 3-month training, which totals, I think, 60 hours or something. And then you have the introduction to be able to start applying and replicating that into your organization. But if you take the basics, because nobody is a champion of chess at once, you need to practice. Mm-hmm. So the more you practice, the more you gain experience within that methodology, and more strategies can come out of it. So for me, that's why I always compare it with playing chess, because, first of all, you understand the tools that you have available. You understand the roles and the responsibilities of that roles through the players. And then the players can start making their moves. And then we will reach a point that one move just conflicts with the other one. So, arises a tension. So let's embrace this tension, understand where it comes from, and bring a solution to that. So the solutions could be shown by actions, or by creating new roles, creating new circles, or simply ignore it. Oh, it's not good for us to be talking about this right now, so let's see how it emerges in a different way. Or so it's a very vivid, and it's a living organism. We look at organizations as a living organism, and we are part of this living organism. Therefore, we are very important in the system. But we need to understand that the system itself is a living entity. So how you correlate with that is the same as when you look outside and you see beautiful trees and you interact with these trees, or you interact with your living system, which is, the forest and this planet. So when you recognize that the organism that you are correlating to is a living one, things are much simpler to understand and to interact, because you are there to collaborate with your heart full of love. So you are not there to just, being competitors with your own partners. You are there for the best of your organism, which has these domains that you all agree to work with. So, and also we have ways in which we need to take decisions. It's what we call the governance, but there are ways that you can just, after making decisions, you need to do the operational part of it. You need to put that into action. And then when conflict arises, you have a relational mode that you can also say, okay, let's stop. Let's look what we have to work here, what we have to figure it out, improve our relation to each other, and then carry on with the job. Mm-hmm. So there are these 3 separate ways in which they correlate together, but there is a specific moment to all of them to take place.
Mm-hmm. Yes, good. So it's so important to understand that sociocracy can be applied anywhere. It's not only a governance system that we would like it to be in our countries or cities, but we can also apply in our daily life. It would be great for me and my family to have this, community decision, or even with my neighbors, or if I'm in a school or at work, because basically our surrounding this with this hierarchy mindset is starting with our family. The kids are not being heard with their voice sometimes, or even a bigger family, like the uncles and everybody here, and then there's fighting and there's no moments and spaces to talk and reconciliate and, have a healthy relationship. So I think sociocracy is not like this political understanding, and governance is just really understanding how to communicate with each other and how to have these values of transparency, of honesty and trust and love that really allow us to evolve together and create together for the benefit of all. Is like we hear each other, and I think this is so important in our lives. So this is a great topic for Regenerative Culture podcast, because this is understanding of what different tools and elements are in the world right now that we can have a culture. Like culture is created by habits. Our daily habits are by persons and communities, and those habits become culture. But then really, what is our culture now is, well, we're degenerating life in general. So, and this is very inspiring to have a very important topic like sociocracy to, from the basis of our understanding within our homes, learn how to make decisions with our family groups, work, and then bigger in the town, in the city, and country. I think it's a great.
Exactly.
Yeah. One thing is there other systems like sociocracy? Like I know some people have tried it and they decided not to do it anymore and do something else. What is about that?
So many things, like the title of your podcast, it comes like in a very important period of the planet, because we cannot talk about sustainability anymore, because we cannot sustain the way that we've been living, that we've been taking decisions, that we've been eating, we've been building our houses, and so on and so forth. So in order to sustain something, you need first of all to regenerate all the old habits that would destroy ourselves and the nature and the planet we live within. So I wrote once an article called "Culture is what we cultivate," and that sentence comes from a very inspiring indigenous friend who lives in the far south of São Paulo. He's from Guarani tribe, and his community is called Tenondaporã. So Timóteo Vera Popayan, who is this indigenous leader, he told me once, culture is what we cultivate. And that never left my mind, because it's like what we are cultivating now. If I am cultivating food with venom, with poison, I'm going to eat poison. If I am cultivating my food, my ingredients, the vegetables in an organic way, I'm going to eat organic food. So if I am just like in this old habit of competition, of trying to pull someone through these legs just to be better, to have a better position in my work or whatever, I am being cultivating this old habit that it's not going to make me feel happy or my friends. So it's just like, what are we cultivating now? And I know sociocracy is a bit difficult in the beginning. And there is a nice movie, it's like a short video on YouTube that teaches people how to drive, how to cycle a bicycle with the, what do you call the thing that you put your hands on the bicycle? The handle,
handbar,
yeah?
Handbar?
Yeah. So they teach how to cycle a bicycle with an inverted handbar. So in the beginning, when you try to turn right, you're actually turning left. And when you want to turn left, you are actually turning right with your handbar. So in the beginning, it seems impossible because your mind is already conditioned just to turn the handbar to the right and go to the right. But once you learn how to cycle the bicycle with this inverted handbar, you are able to ride the bicycle. So we have like some limited limited understanding that, because you've been taught one way, you cannot do differently. So once you learn how to apply a different methodology of governance and of taking decisions together, it's just to relearn how to ride a bike. So in the beginning, it's painful. In the beginning, it's difficult. In the beginning, it can arise more conflict. But in the end, you get used to that, and you see that it's so smooth, it's so pleasant, it's so healthy to take decisions using sociocracy, to make your proposals using this methodology, that you don't want to go back to the old ways. So for me, cultivate what you really want to do in life. It is to create a new culture. And we adapt easily to new circumstances. That's what makes us human beings. Nature does itself as well, but it takes long periods of time by doing it by itself. And we have the advantage of doing that collectively. So it is a new way of introducing a new culture. And this new culture is much healthy because you're going to eat organic in the decision-making process, just doing an analogy. You're going to eat organic, you're going to have shade, you're going to have a healthy environment for you to just show yourself, show your values. And that values are, collectively is what is going to compose the organization. So I think it's just a matter of changing your habits and creating this new culture that you actually want to cultivate with your mates, with your group.
And the curious thing is, where if there's another type of governance system that other people can find out more. Have you heard about it? Some people might have experience with sociocracy, but then they decided to practice other types of systems. Do you know a little bit about that?
Of mixing sociocracy with different tools.
Yeah, or other systems of governance, or just, or is there sociocracy kind of like the leading way of other ways of governance and decision making?
As soon as I started immersing myself into the eco-village movement, I learned various tools, and we call that a social tool. So I actually walk aside my imaginary toolbox filled with social tools, and whenever it's necessary, I just open this box and I take a new tool and apply it. Because sociocracy is not the solution of all. Sociocracy works really well for governance, for taking decisions together, and then there is a conflict in the middle of the situation. So there is a tool called nonviolent communication that you can use and work there along with the person that you have a conflict with. And like by understanding that there is enough tools already available, you can just pick the one that works for you at that moment. So I think within permaculture, the social aspect of permaculture, there are a lot already being discovered and available to people. So I would take all of this knowledge, like sometimes just a friend talking to you would help you also. So I think the most important aspect is to identify the need behind the situation. And once you identify the need, because sometimes we don't even know that we have that need. We just talk, our mind just go round, and you don't know what you need. But when you stop and you understand what your needs, you can look for the right tool to then try to find solutions within that situation. So for me, the key is to identify the need. I'm hungry, I need food. If I don't have supermarkets around me, I need to start cultivating my own food. I need to take decisions together. Like I'm not used anymore to this democratic way of taking decisions when the minority always loses and the majority always wins. So I'm gonna look for different tools to improve that. So I think the whole idea behind taking all these social tools is to identify the need.
Awesome. So it's great to understand that it's a flexible system. It could be adjusted depending on the needs of each collective, group, family. So I think it's amazing to know that. And in terms of the movement of sociocracy all over the world, global eco-village practices, and I'm sure other networks and eco-villages themselves. Where does sociocracy stand in the world level? Like, what's happening right now, and how, a little bit of how does it grow in the last decade, and where can we see the sociocracy happening in 5 years, 10 years? A little bit about your perspective on that.
Good. If we just go back to the past and understand that sociocracy was the methodology of sociocracy started being applied in one enterprise of this Dutch guy who owned a electrical shop, and he started doing that with his employers and with his employees. For now, like many decades have already passed, and the tool also has evolved. But I think one organization that I would mention here is called Sociocracy for All. I am part of one circle called Permaculture. So we are now blending the understanding, the connections of permaculture and sociocracy. And I've been recently invited to be part of the mission circle of that organization. So this organization grew a lot. It has many circles. It has, you want to apply sociocracy in schools. There is one circle for that. You want to apply that within intentional communities. That's one circle for that. I speak Spanish. I want to just recognize my name. There is Sopra, which is the sociocracy in Spanish, in France, and in French, and so on and so forth. So I think for me, Sociocracy for All is doing a great job, and we're going to find out year by year where it's going to take us. Because something that sociocracy doesn't do is try to prevent and control the future. We lead with the tensions as they arise. So I think this is it's something that also releases a bit of the weight in the back, because sometimes you just point to the future and you want to go into that direction, but then you realize that a pandemic situation comes, or like something around the road happening right now that is influencing the whole organization. So we need change. We don't need static way of governance anymore. And by having and applying and understanding a dynamic way of dealing with the problems, it's what makes sociocracy being such a beautiful tool, because you don't need to start with things. You can you can analyze, you can take decisions, you can make proposals of what, bringing something aspects of the real life aspect that's happening around the road that way. So I think this is, for me, it's what makes me being so enchanted by and in love with sociocracy, is the understanding that, let's see what happens within 5 years, living these 5 years, applying this methodology and see whether that's going to lead us to, our expectations, or if we have to align our expectations through what's happening around us. So it's this flexible way of perceiving the reality around us.
Great, perfect. Thank you. Yeah, that's good to know, because it's also, like you said, flexible as it comes. It's like you act, or the organizations or groups act as they come. And basically, I feel there's a need. There's a need to imagine different ways of doing things, and definitely making decisions. So I think it's important. I do know it's coming close to our time. I have a couple last questions. I wish we can stay longer, but we have so much going on. I know you and us. So I would like to ask you kind of a personal question here, with all your experience, and especially within eco-villages and sociocracy. What's your biggest lesson in life?
Wow, that's a good one. I think I lived already a lot of beautiful lessons. One of them was just to decided to abandon this way of living, to go to understand life beyond capitalism, and just ignored everything and just make a plan of building a boat and traveling through the Amazon River basin for a year and a half and then just understand the connection with nature. This was for sure one of the biggest lessons I've ever had. And now I'm facing one huge lesson as well, which is try to implement sociocracy and permaculture within a collective politics group, which is happening currently here with me, with the group of people who we've been working with, which is Severino, Cristiani, and we have the fourth element of this group in a rotating manner, so we can give a voice to the society. Every 3 months we do a turn and we bring someone from the society to take decision with us to experience permaculture and sociocracy within this political system. And that's been really challenging because there is like two entities correlating to each other. One is the Câmara Municipal, which is the council house where we take decisions together, democratic way, so we have majority, minority. And another entity is the Mandato Coletivo Permacultural, the permacultural collective mandate, which is this group of people that are working with permaculture and sociocracy, taking decisions together, understanding what are the needs of society and bringing to the council place. So we are like 4 co-councillors in the city, trying to improve and to not to change the road, but just try to show a different alternative of taking decision, of understanding how a city works holistically, because every element of the city it's important, and we have a tendency to just work on education, just work on culture, just work on healthy. But we know that if we plant our food, we're gonna eat organically, so we're gonna have a healthier life. And so it's just like how we use permaculture to have this understanding of this holistic way and approach it into the decision-making process. So I think I'm learning. I think the biggest lesson is still to come because I'm learning with this process. It's just 1 year almost, so we have 3 ahead. And I'm going to show you how I graduate from these 4 years when it comes.
Awesome. And you're living the present lesson of your life, like during this time. So it's a big achievement, I think, in the world, that what you're doing right now. So it's basically the leading example of new ways, and specifically in sociocracy. I think that's great. And there's a plus adding permaculture to it. So it's just mind-blowing that you're able to do this. And I congratulate you again, and very inspiring. Thank you for doing all this work. And yeah, we're going to have to go. Any last messages to our friends, family out there that you would like to invite, as well as any consejo or message there?
People say that I'm currently living my dream, and I have like such like a way of just trying to be as more coherent as possible with the things that I believe. So everything that I love in life, I try to bring it to practice through actions. So I think my biggest advice would be, like if you have a dream, identify how you can live it, and just like do everything possible to live your dream. Because if you don't live your dream, you might end up living your most terrible nightmare. So, like you are the one that can take this decision for yourself. Nobody else can. But once you decide, make sure that you're going to have challenges. You're going to have to leave your comfort zone. But many beautiful opportunities will arise in your life. And I want to congratulate you, Yoshi, for doing this podcast, this Regenerative Culture podcast. I think it came in the right moment where society is just looking for alternatives, where pandemic is kind of finishing, but what are the new ways that I want to live post-pandemic? And I think just by having shows like yours, we have alternatives, and we just need to choose to listen to more of these talks and be inspired and inspire people around us just by changing little actions in our lives. And congratulations to you again. Happy birthday. Enjoy your day. And I, wish you most success in your shows.
Yes, thank you, Henny, so much for being here with us today. It's not going to be the first time. We want to know more. And of course, friends, you can follow Henny at Henny Freitas at Instagram. And of course, from there, you can find other ways. You can contact her to find out more about Sociocracy. You can know more about their courses. It's an amazing course. I've been part of it before, and I definitely invite everyone to check it out. Stay tuned with Regenerative Culture Podcast because we're having amazing topics. Just the last one was about sacred economy, social cryptocurrency, not the crypto world, it's a social cryptocurrency. It's unique. So if you haven't checked that episode yet, check it out. And the rest of our links, because every Monday we're going to have new episodes with amazing topics like permaculture, from also sacred sexuality, from parenting in a new way, education, homeschooling, stuff like that. So there's amazing different actions in society that we can apply today that's happening already to really be part of our regenerative culture and overall a better life, a better world. Thank you so much for being here today, everyone. Peace, love, and abundance. Thank you, Henny, again. Muchas gracias. I'll see you guys next time. Yeah.
Besitos.
Gracias.
Gracias.